and grabbing that you said, what is your relation with the camera? So what is Nina without a camera and Nina with a camera?
Yeah.
The camera is your weapon. I don't think that you are a woman that is that has some attraction to guns. Exactly the opposite. But so it's a gun, but it's a gun as a metaphor. How is Nina with the camera? Do you have? It's an easy camera. You walk around.
Fascinating question. I have lately love-hate relationships with my cameras, and so with Purple Hearts, I use this old manual Hasselblad film camera shooting transparency film, which is no one shoots transparency film anymore, and I never felt that capable with it, and I feel that the pictures were better almost because I was slightly nervous. I worked very slowly. For the subjects, they'd never seen a camera like this. And so there was, I think, a certain level of respect with the camera. But there is sometimes a level of anxiety I have with the equipment. I've, like many photographers, I think, struggled with this digital technology. I love it and I also hate it. And I haven't worked it out yet. And I have so many cameras. I mean, you really can't believe it. And I sometimes dream of going back to the days when I began, which was either a very simple Leica or a simple manual film camera working very lightly. And I hope in my photography to explore that, because different cameras take different pictures for sure. It's not just simply the brand. I mean, they really do. And so it's a fascinating question. Thank you.
No, so it's a relation that it's still open.
It's still open, and it's also digital, and film is still open. So in the Homeland work, some of it is film, some of it is digital. You know, it's most of it is 35 millimeter, but there's some 6x7.
In your series that you capture in Times Square, for me, I look at it as a metaphor, a symbol of what is our relation now with image. We are image civilization, maybe. Maybe in our generation we stood more at the texts, the structuralism, etc. But nowadays, especially young girls, they are very connected with images. How, as a photographer and as a woman also, but as a photographer, how do you think it will? How do you reflect or think about it? This kind of relation with the violence, with the image also, because your photos, I think they have subliminal presence of the violence, but it's a different violence of the day life.
Exactly.
I don't know. Sometimes I think, and that makes part of my photo. Don't you think that we sometimes are a consumer of violence in the photos, or a voyeur?
Sure.
But in your case, you get out of this.
Yeah, I hope to, and it's one. I mean, I know many so-called war photographers, and many of them are my dear friends and colleagues. Yet, I know personally that I've become almost numbed to many images of combat, of the hard news war picture, and so the intimate portraits that I make were trying to get away from that kind of imagery, which I feel, well, for me, it doesn't tell me all that much. And also, I think further mystifies in some ways what fighting in war is. So, for instance, in the United States at the beginning of the Iraq War, we did not see any images. They were practically censored of people being wounded or killed. But I thought in my head, now, wait a minute, like, what would that picture look like? And what is that picture that I have in my head of a wounded soldier? And it was invariably, I kept thinking of it and thinking of it, of someone on the battlefield, surrounded by technology, helicopter, weapon, something, being carried away by other soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
And my reaction then is, oh, that person's going to be taken care of and will be fine, right? Okay, there's this structure in place. And so one of my aims with these intimate portraits at home, away from the action, right, which is what most violent images are of, like the action, is to show, one, that the real damage is not in that moment, right? I mean, you talk to people, sometimes they don't even feel it.
Yeah.
It's like way after.
And and also is in the inside.
It's in the inside. It's a psychological thing. So all the images we see of the sort of the moment of impact, right, or like the. For me, I can't find a place often to feel anything from that.
Yes.
So this is my small attempt to maybe change our notion of what war is and what war photography can be. So, I used to have a friend who has since died, who named Alexandre Boulard, who was a French photographer, and she had she was asked this question once, and she said, "Well, I don't need to show a gun to show war, you know."
Yeah.
And
sometimes it works better because you see guns all over.
You see guns all the time.
Movies, on everywhere.
Yeah,
everywhere.
And it just.
It's another level of violence because it doesn't affect us anymore,
right.
And it's strange.
For me, and I don't know why this is, but whenever I have studied or read stories from societies in deeply violent times, totalitarianism or fascism, I'm less interested in the actual executions or exterminations, but it's the daily psychological terror and the relations between individuals that I've always found the most frightening, right?
Yes.
Like the little acts of violence as opposed to the big, you know. So
So each picture tells a story, in my opinion. But also photography, it's a specific language. So I have just two more questions to do it. I had several, but we don't have time. Maybe some other time. So my question is: consider that photography is a specific language. Do you like to speak about your work, or to explain to us the story that is behind the photo? It's two different languages that cohabit, or for you you feel good with that because some artists, some artists don't like to talk about their photo or the pictures.
Yeah, I'm not one of those people, and maybe because I have a latent sense of insecurity about my work. So maybe I feel like I have to explain it more than maybe other photographers who are like, it's done, it's there, look at it, that's enough. But also because my work is so much about investigation, I have all of these other experiences, which I like to share. I think that they're interesting, and people can accept them or just look at the picture.
For it it's good. For it it's great.
I think it's interesting.
Okay, so my last question is: I saw one video. I don't know if you make more, but I saw one that you make with a junkie, I think, in the streets of New York, and I was very connected with. I was in front of my computer, and I couldn't stop seeing it at the end. And so my question is: do you consider the work in the video also the work in writing possible after your photos, or parallel to your photographs?
Yeah, I'm getting interested in video these days. I'm looking to be the cinematographer on a documentary coming up. The woman on the street is a long story that I'll try and shorten very briefly, but she was someone I met early in my career. She lived in London, and I photographed her, and she kind of followed me back to New York, and she's been a member of my family almost for now 20 years. And so often photographers are asked, well, you know, do you still stay in touch with your subjects, or do you have this very long-lasting relationship? And because my relationship with her became so intense and in some ways so consuming, I decided with the soldiers, you know, I'm not going to be their carekeeper. Also, I'm not their mother, I'm not their lover. Okay? I don't need to be that person in their life. But there can be this expectation that photographers photographing people in distress become these kind of nursing characters as well. And I'm not saying that it's good or bad, but it's something, because of my previous experience with this one very compelling person, I've tried to step back a bit.
So video is a possibility in the future that we can see Nina in
I hope.
working on video. And writing, no?
Yeah, you know, I wrote the text in Homeland, and I enjoyed doing it. I wrote the text in Purple Hearts, and so maybe there will be something again.
Okay, so thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, I'm so glad you saw that video.
No, it's a beautiful video.
Oh, thanks.